very much still important to the living Kaurna people today, and read you the council prayer. We humbly bow before thy throne of mercy, O God, our Heavenly Father, and seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of our united task, praying for the welfare of our city and the peace and prosperity of our land. In the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Please be seated. Perhaps someone confirm the minutes. Sorry, on leave. We don't have anyone on leave. We have an apology from Councillor Harris. A confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting for Council Tuesday the 27th of May. Councillor Dixon wishes to speak to it. Seconder? Councillor Priest wishes to speak to it. No. Any further debate? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Mayor's report is on page 867. There's a couple of changes. Since the report was printed, the footy match that the Lord Mayor was due to attend has happened, and he was unable to attend, so that needs to come off the note there. And also, I was unable to meet with Chris Angelopoulos, Mark Goldstone and Jennifer Buchan today as a trio. Chris Angelopoulos being the owner of the North Park Shopping Centre, so we'll set that one up, but it can't be in this report, obviously. If somebody wishes to move the report as an
just a question. Sorry, could you explain what you just said then? You were going to meet, you had met, or you didn't meet?
I was unable to meet with them today. It's scheduled for the day.
Did they meet?
Yes, that's so I understand.
Oh, you didn't say that because I understood it.
Can't be on my mayor's report, is what I'm saying. Because
I understand that. The question was, if you didn't meet, did the CEO meet?
CEO?
No, we're just going to reschedule it for next week.
I just asked the question why the meeting wasn't on today that's supposed to be done, why you didn't meet?
It was previously scheduled and Mr. Angelopoulos couldn't make it, and this time I couldn't make it. Anybody wish to move the report as amended? Councillor Dixon wishes to speak to it. Seconded by Councillor Roberts wishes to speak to it. Further debate. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Verbal reports from council representatives from local government or community organisations. Are there any verbal reports from representatives?
Yes, indeed.
Waste Care SA.
As you know, this is the end year of the Waste Care SA contract. We have, as a board, and all of you guys will know, on the recommendation of the councils, are going to tender for the new contract, which will begin January the 1st. We have decided that Waste Care SA themselves cannot run the tender because they have a contract with TPI, who will be one of the tenderers. And TPI, Trans-Pacific Industries, who own Cleanaway, are our current contractors. So Adelaide City Council will be running the tender on behalf of the other constituent councils. And they really have the manpower to do these things far and above all the other councils. So that first meeting will be, I think, in about a week's time. We have just today okayed for that to go ahead. And one of the urgencies, of course, is this has to be nailed before we go into caretaker. Thank you. I was looking for the word. I always said janitor, but caretaker, which is, of course, early September. So we expect to have the results of the tender mid-August, so we can then go back to councils for a decision. Remembering always, councils do not have to endure this contract. We might look at negotiating outside the contract. It really depends. There are other opportunities available, but there's a fair chance that because there's 68,000 residents involved, it might really swing somebody to lower their mast to come in with a great price. So at this stage, the news is Adelaide City Council will run the tender on behalf of the constituent councils.
Thank you. Any further verbal reports? That being the case, thank you very much, Councillor Dixon. Questions with notice there are nil listed. Questions without notice, are there any? That being the case, petitions there are nil. Deputations, we were going to have Ms. Rosa Matto. She has asked to come to the next meeting, not this one, so that'll pop up on the next agenda. Motions on notice, we have one, 11.1, page 868-69. Councillor Barnett. As is our meeting procedure, could you stand and read out your motion?
Yes. I move that Council undertake a review of the provision and content of Council prayers on the Council agenda for Council meetings. And part 2, management facilitates a workshop discussion and subsequent report to Council.
Yeah, wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, I do. First, the context of my motion. As a result of our Council workshop discussion on 3rd of June agenda, when we discussed key changes from the state government and local government procedures at meetings regulations 2013, and one of those optional sections, 7.1.2 regarding council prayer, I provided some discussion points and provide suggestions on making that part of our meeting agenda more inclusive and contemporary, similar to other metropolitan councils. I might point out here that I researched every council, the 68 of them, in South Australia, and I've tabulated it all here, so that was reviewed when we have a workshop on it. So it's got the how many have a prayer, how many don't have a prayer, pledge or other, and description of what they actually have on their agenda when they open the meeting. And the results of that online survey was that 60.3% of councils do not have prayer and 39.7% do. So I thought that we needed that research to assist us one way or the other in making a decision. Now, so from that workshop that I described on the 3rd of June, staff were asked to provide a report to Council recommending adoption of the Code of Practice, feeding procedures for Council and standing committees, and the report to include the reporting terminology. Elected members discussed having a separate notice of motion regarding 7.1.2 and staff to provide assistance regarding. I received advice after I requested from the CEO reporting to the Council agenda item that we had before it. So I emphasise that if this motion is passed tonight, all it means is that this matter is up for further discussion at a council workshop and a report, which I believe shouldn't take up too much staff time, as I believe that I've done most of the investigation for it. So it's not, as was reported in the messenger, we have not made a decision on it at all. So I want to make it quite clear that this is for further discussion on it. Basically, if you oppose the motion, I think you are opposing further discussion. You're not allowing us to look at part of our role under the Local Government Act. That is to make informed decisions. Under Section 8, Council must act to uphold and promote observance of the following principles in the performance of its roles and functions. Part B, be responsive to the needs, interests and aspirations of individuals and groups within the community. And Section 59, Part 2, to keep the Council's objectives and policies under review to ensure that they are appropriate and effective. And that's all that we're asking to do in this, is to have a review of that part of the agenda. Therefore, as elected members, we should not be basing our discussion on our own emotions, beliefs or religious practices, particularly as I do not remember any elected member making a case during recent elections with council, for example, to have either a prayer or not have a prayer during their council meeting. I'm therefore bringing this before us to have a proper and informed and a rational discussion in the light of changing times and changing community cultures. From when Prospect Council first had council prayer, I think probably more than 100 years ago.
Finish up with councillors and the minutes up.
Okay. So do I have 5 minutes?
Your 5 minutes is up and your 1 minute warning is up as well.
Oh, all right then. So I think that one issue with our council prayers has been brought to my attention by some of our community members of Jewish and some cultural and religious beliefs is the reference to "in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord." So Prospect Council prayer out of all the 68 councils.
I don't think you've explained well enough to the councillor that not only is the performance up, the extra minutes is up, time is up. I think perhaps in the council thought you meant there was a minute to go. Could you elucidate and tell us what you actually meant?
I'll uphold the point of order. Our meeting procedures require that you can only speak for 5 minutes. You've now spoken for 6. And I did ask you to finish. I gave you a minute warning. I did ask you to wind up. So I'm afraid, councillor, that...
Sorry, I didn't hear you a minute warning.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't
That's my left ear, I can't hear.
I'll say it louder to future speakers, but councillor, it's also upon you to know when your 5 minutes is up, and you clearly exceeded it. So could you resume your seat, and we'll see if we get a seconder, and we'll move on.
All right. Shall we wait for my summing up?
You have your right to sum up, of course, councillor. Yeah. Do we have a seconder? Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Lee, you wish to speak to it for 5 minutes and no more?
Oh, I can do much better than that. I can do a couple of seconds. All the councillor is asking is for a review and a workshop discussion. I think it's important that we have mature debates about changes in society, and that's an important motion.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Lee?
Look, I'd like to congratulate the councillor for putting the work in she has done. That really does, create a foundation for the debate. The end of the world will not come if we decide to do away with the prayer, because it would appear that a significant majority of councils managed it and are still going. My personal choice would be to follow, on page 2 of 5, the District Councillor Kimber, who tells me have a prayer and don't have a prayer. And I think that's a great choice. But other than that, I think it's well worth the debate. I'm not overly fussed about it. I'm a great believer in the separation, which in England we created several hundred years ago, of state and religion. So if it goes, I'm not fussed. If it stays, I'm not fussed. The only thing I might be tempted to do if it stays is just remove Jesus Christ, because then all religions come under, they have a God. I'm not sure if there's any religion that doesn't have a God, and it makes it good for everybody, but it doesn't detract from the Judeo-Christian faith.
Sorry, the staff are advising me to continue to let you to speak for another couple of minutes. But please stay on topic, councillor. Well, the motion is just to go to a workshop. So.
And I'm thought I was really discussion.
I was very happy, councillor.
I'm a little lost. But I've got 5 minutes. I'll take it thinking about it because I'm puzzled. Anyway, I would have thought I was on topic, but I'm very much in favour of discussing it. But and look, Councillor Priest says I was, so end of story. I was.
I was very happy, councillor.
You were happy. I need to have a word with you later, Kerry. I'm not sure. But I know you're...
Now you're well off topic. Right, get back on it.
But look, either way, I think it's well worth a discussion, from time to time, anything. And if people have a problem with that, it's their problem, really. We're a council, we're here to be here for everybody, and I think there are easy ways around this. Whatever the result is, I don't give a damn as long as we don't have to stand up and sing Old Mother Riley as an alternative or something like that.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Priest.
Just read this. Do you really want to throw away our rich Christian heritage and tradition? Now this council, over numerous years, we've gone to the Heritage Council saying we want a heritage at this house. Councillor Barnett wants to make sure that the house on Maynolth Road, Scotty's Corner, is heritage listed and retains heritage listing. This council prayer is about our heritage. Same heritage that Christina Barnett fights, and I support her on, to retain our heritage of our old building. This is over 100 years old, this prayer. It's part of our heritage. Excuse me, I just lost my page. Do we really want to throw away our rich Christian heritage and tradition? Just consider all those councils before you. We're not so proud as to think that they had enough wisdom on their own without asking guidance from their Creator. Australia has such a rich Christian heritage, and our freedoms are on the basis of it. You have thought about wanting to make a religious inclusive, but these precious refugees with different faiths have come to Australia precisely because of those regimes that they are so brutal and repressive, let alone corrupt leadership, and this shows it's because they have no Christian base. It is by coincidence that the most free countries of the world are from Judeo-Christian foundations. If those of us who've listened to this prayer continually for, I've been on council 8 years, this prayer is very, very inclusive. Very, very inclusive. It says a lot about all faiths. And as a lot of you people here know, I have a lot of friends from Turkish, Filipino, Greek, Italian, Hindu, Sikh, Punjabis, very, very good friends of mine are Punjabis. I've attended numerous prayer meetings of theirs. And I've actually spoken to them about this and say, well, why do you want to change that for? We haven't complained. No one from Prospect Council has received complaints about our prayer. We're not complaining. We live in Prospect. Hindus haven't complained. Punjabis haven't complained. Sikhs faith. I haven't heard of a Muslim complain about it. I haven't heard of a Jewish complain about it. I haven't heard of anybody else complain about it. So why do we need to take this tradition away? This tradition that it's been part of our 100-year history, our heritage. So I can't understand why Councillor Barnett even wants to raise it. Because she's fighting for heritage in retaining old buildings. This is part of our heritage, this council prayer. And I ask, will you retain it for the sake of that?
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Roberts.
Oh, sorry, can I just say one thing? Sorry, I apologise.
Sorry.
1
more minute.
I did mean to say that what I just read just then was not of my writing. It was written to all councillors, sent to all councillors by the people in the back of us. So I hope she didn't mind me reading that.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
I appreciate what Bruce read out on behalf of him. My faith and whatnot, I'd like to see it retained, but I think the motion before us is actually just to have a discussion around it, and I think that that's only fair and reasonable. So I'll support the motion tonight that's before us, and I think it is. To me, it's more than just a few words, but what my beliefs are might not be what everyone else around this table and the greater community of our ratepayers. And I think as Councillor Christina Barnett mentioned, that we're here to represent everyone, and I think we need to have a discussion. So that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Brew.
Thank you. Look, I just want to say a few brief things. First of all, just to thank the councillor that she has clearly done lots of research, particularly the survey. However, the survey to me is a bit meaningless because I don't think this council would ever do things just because others are doing it. I don't think that's the right reason for us to be doing it. So while it provides us a nice context, I don't think it should be leading our conversation when it gets to a workshop about what we choose to do as a council on behalf of our community. I'm a bit confused that this motion is actually before us tonight, because I thought we had agreed at the workshop that it would go to a workshop, so I'm not quite sure the purpose of this other to confirm what I think at least informally we had agreed to a week or so ago, so I'll just leave that as a rhetorical question. One of the things I'll be supporting the motion because I think Councillor Barnett is correct in that it is we're not making any decisions in this motion except to say we're going to confirm the decision we made a week ago. So from that perspective, I'm not unhappy with that. Let's have a debate about it. I think we have to be very clear on the words that we use and the words we come up with if we choose to do that, just because I think the alternatives that were put to us as words don't really ring true with me, and I don't think would be supported by the majority of people that I would talk to. I just don't think that's quite the right word. So we're going to have to spend a lot of time in terms of that workshopping and wordsmithing that, and I just want to flag that up front as well. The other thing I'll be really interested in the workshop debate is what is the issue we're trying to resolve, and I raised this at the workshop the other week. So just be very, very clear, what are we trying to achieve by this? And I think there are some noble aims that we want to achieve, but I think we need to be very clear up front about what it is we're trying to achieve and what the issues are, because Councillor Barnett is correct. No one went to the election on this issue about to have a prayer or not to have a prayer, and that's because I don't think it's probably ever been raised with anybody that I'm aware of, certainly not been raised with me in the last 3.5 years. So I think that will form part of informing us in terms of the context of what we're doing. So I will support it. I think it's an important debate to have, but a fair way to go until we get to an outcome that's going to satisfy everyone.
Thank you. There are no further speakers. Councillor Barnett, could you sum up?
Yeah, just in terms of when we talk about our heritage, we have the discussion about it, we have the research on it, we have actually consultants are paid to provide us with information. So that heritage does go through that process, and this is all that I thought we should do, right? Simply because something has been there for a long time, and perhaps it is an optional part of saying the prayers. It's an optional part of self-meeting agendas on page 15. So obviously from the research, there are other councillors who have given it some thought, because they've actually made a few changes. They've reflected what the socio-demographics of their community is. So I think it always pays for us to ask questions. We live in a democratic society. If we all just accepted everything that was there before us, I think that can be a very dangerous precedent for society. So I'm glad that we will be looking at this. We will be asking ourselves questions, and as Councillor Bruce said, why, the wherefores, and all the rest of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Concludes debate. All those in favour? Against? It's carried.
Shall call for a
Division. All those who voted against it, please remain standing. Remain recorded. So.
We're waiting for sound.
Puzzled to vote against the scope of it.
I know.
my democratic right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, I see you stood up for it.
It's on those very foundations you so clearly state on the Westminster system of Parliament.
That's still resolved as carried. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, declaration. Members. Eyes front. Next item is declaration by members of a conflict of interest. Do we have any declarations of any conflict with any of the agenda items tonight? All right. Councillor Pitt, might have one.
I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a conflict. I have, 20.3, okay, I have the code of conduct against me. I guess I have an interest in that.
Normally wait a long time, but I thought I'd allow you to
Well, it was about me. I didn't think I had a
entirely about you.
the conflict about it because it was about me. So why would it be? Anyway, that's fine. Thank you.
The protocol, a number of items we've discussed at workshops, and does anybody, I'm going to take this on block, unless people withdraw them. Does anybody wish to withdraw item 17.1? Right, the Eastern Region Alliance Economic Development Draft Action Plan, recommendations on page 872. 20.1, fees and charges registered 2014-15. Look.
Yeah, I'll bring out the fees. Yes, I will bring that up. Yeah.
Councillor Priest, withdrawn that item. The 20.2, Code of Practice, Councillor Barnett. The 20.3, we need to withdraw for discussion. There's a number of options there. 20.4, review of confidential items. Anybody wish to withdraw that? Councillor Fruit. 20.5, Eastern Health Authority Third Budget Review, 2013-14, page 940. Does anybody wish to withdraw that?
No,
Looking for the second item. 20.6, community feedback regarding the draft annual business plan 14-15 on page 962. Anybody wish to withdraw that? No? Good. Someone move on block 17.1, 20.5 and 20.6, moved by Councillor Dixon.
No.
And well, a second that, Councillor Groot. No debate. All those in favour? Against? They're all carried. Thank you. And now move to item 20.1. Councillor Priest, brief reason why you've withdrawn fees and charges.
Yeah, just to discuss some fees and charges on there. The hiring of our halls.
Thank you. Do you wish to move it in its current form?
Yeah, I'll move it in its current form, yeah.
And speaking to it,
I'd just like to discuss why we are charging the cost that we do charge. Why do we do charge the high cost? Sorry, the admin fee is so high.
so it's a question specifically.
Well, when we discussed it, I think. Well, look, the reason why I brought this up is I honestly I went to hire the Irish Harp Room and hadn't hired it for some years. I think it was $50 an hour. But the admin fee was over $40 odd, and I thought, well, if we're going to charge so much for the hall by the hour, why are we charging such a high admin fee? And I just thought the admin fee is a bit exorbitant. As far as I know, it's used fairly regularly, but I just thought the admin fee is excessive, and I thought that, you know, we should cut that. It's probably too late now, but I think in the future we should look at our admin costs. Because we are charging such a huge extent by the hour for that room, $50 an hour. I think it's quite huge. And then charge, I think is it Brendan? Sorry, ask a question through the chair. Brendan, through the chair.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the fee schedule here, Councillor. It says $40 is a cleaning fee. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm not talking about a cleaning fee. There's an admin fee. I got told if I wanted to hire the hall, there was a charge of, I think, $50 an hour. Like, I'd like to clarify through through the chair, of course.
Director, to clarify that.
Through the chair, just to clarify, actually previous fees and charges actually described an administration fee. However, this proposed fees and charges, in fact, have clarified it as being an induction fee. So it's just as per our conversation during the week as well. Essentially, the notion of induction fee is that that's what is occurring is that a potential hire of the town hall or Irish Harp Room will, for example, for a wedding or for a reception or some function, will be inducted into the use of the facility, and then at a later date come back and want their brother or their sister or partner to also be inducted, and so the induction fee is placed there to discourage that occurring more than the one. So the first induction is actually of no charge, and subsequent inductions incur a fee of $42. But Councillor Priest is correct that previous years it has been an administration fee, and that's how it was described.
Thank you, that's the current year. So if someone books it today, there's an admin fee of $40.
That is correct.
I'm happy with that statement.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Councillor Dixon, do you wish to speak to it? Any further debate? All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you. Next item pulled out was 20.2, Code of Practice, meeting procedures for meetings with Council and Council standing committees on page 895. Councillor Barnett, a brief reason why you pulled it out.
Yes, well, subsequent to my motion being passed, we now cannot, in a sense, pass that code of practice that we had came to us from our previous workshop. So we need to accept Part 7.1, the Garner acknowledgement, and Part 7.2, the council prayer, because otherwise we're passing it all, and then we go to a workshop and everything, and who knows what happens to it. And that
We might not change it. We might change it.
we might or might not, we know. So I don't know. I'll ask for advice through the chair.
Sorry, Councillor, what is the nature of your question?
Question is, oh, that's right. I'm asking a question, sorry. The question is, do we have to accept Part 7.1 and Part 7.2 that's contained in that?
My advice from the Chair would be to do that, yes, until we decide to do otherwise, in which case we just change our policy at the same time. In fact, if we want to change the prayer, the way we would change it is by changing the procedures in the agenda. It's precisely that we would change. We don't change something else and have to find that. That is it. Yeah, so that's, yeah. So are you happy to move it as it is?
Yes.
Okay. Wish to speak any further to it? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dixon, wish to speak to it? Any further debate? All those in favour? Against is carried. The next item is item 20.3, breach of code of conduct for council members, Councillor Bruce Priest, page 929. And there are a few options here for us, so we may need to suspend meeting procedures to discuss how we handle the matter, as we've done in previous occasions. And so I seek leave of the meeting to suspend meeting procedures until 8:15. All those in favour? Against? They are thus suspended. So what we've done in previous occasions here is you've got the brief report. There's been a more detailed report provided to the CEO, who administers these alleged breaches on our behalf now as per our new code. I'm not sure, CEO, whether you want to provide any more information or you're satisfied with what's in the report. I'm just going to accept.
Through you, I just want to clarify why the report hasn't been tabled in full. The requirement under the guidelines at the moment is that this matter be reported to a public meeting of council in section 6.2.4. So that is why it's at a public meeting. In the past, it used to be presented to a confidential meeting of council, and so therefore the report that was provided to me from the governance panel was entitled confidential. So that's why the reporting for is not tabled, but extracts of the report are provided in this report. Just to make that really quite clear.
Okay, thank you. And what I'll do is I'll go in the room and see what people have to say. But first of all, Councillor Priest, you've read the report. I think you've had the full report as well, haven't you?
No,
Not been provided? Okay, just the findings?
it's the findings.
Yeah. And did you have any comment to make and whether you wanted to stay?
Yeah, but, well, because it's being recorded, I will stay, because it's pointless me leaving when it's recorded. Yeah. I consider this report flawed. I reject its findings. I believe this whole thing is of a political matter. It is deliberately to smear me, to humiliate me in public. I'm amazed that the person who did the report, when I had a meeting with her, she refused to accept some other things that I had to want to bring to her attention, like all the emails that went around to councillors. Why did it go from a complaint to a code of conduct all of a sudden, from a complaint, all of a sudden jump several weeks later to a code of conduct? Why did before it came to council, the press found out about it? Who phoned the press? And this lady who did the thing failed and would refuse to take everything into context. And I think when you do a report, to understand something, which the main part is very important as well, but all the rest of it has to be looked at to go in and for that final report to be done. She refused to look at all those other things that we believe, my lawyer and I believe, is if this goes to court, the judge will find in our favour that you do need to take everything into context. We believe this is political. It's gone from a complaint to a code of conduct. The CEO himself said she didn't know what code of conduct to do, that he had to help her formalise a code of conduct against me. Why is it she refuses? Sorry, that's right. We asked for mediation. She's refused. Why would she refuse mediation? I've never done anything to her in the past. Nothing. Although I think that she's been rude to me on a number of occasions in previous times of meetings, but that's supposed to say. This is why I believe that this is political. There are other people involved. There are third parties involved in this, not just her. There are third parties involved in this to get her to change her mind from a complaint to a code of conduct. Again, she's refused mediation, which has progressed to this to be investigated. I believe there are third parties involved. They've got her involved. They've got her to change her mind and to push this deliberately to smear me and humiliate me in public. And any other reasonable person would say, oh, yes, let's talk about this. Let's have mediation. So,
CEO, you had mentioned in that. Do you want to clarify?
Yeah, through Mayor, the suggestion that I think it was suggested that I encourage the formalisation of a code of conduct complaint. I don't agree with that. I just simply, when a member of the public comes to me with a complaint, I just explain the process that is required to be undertaken, and generally that requires placing in writing, which is by email. So that's what occurred on this occasion. I don't necessarily undertake any further action on that. It's just simply a process that I assist with. So I just want to clarify that.
That I misunderstood what you told me when we initially talked on this. I'll take that back.
Okay, so we'll head around the room if people, no one wants to start at either end.
So just one more thing. I just might add too that you may not know that I actually did write a letter to the person who made the initial complaint. Apology because if she misunderstood, because actually you all know that I do talk loud because I have a hearing problem. A lot of people misunderstand. When I talk loud, they take that as a threatening manner, which is not. It's just because I have a hearing problem, and that's all it is. And I did write the letter. It's amazing how the letter ended up with the CEO, which I found strange as well. Yeah.
Okay, further comments? Further comments?
You said you're going to go around the...
Well, Councillor Barnett or Councillor Roberts, wish to start?
Oh, look, I mean, right, yeah.
No need to stand, we don't have...
Yeah, that's right. I was getting ready to stand. Well, I mean, I think, I don't understand, I can understand that the report's confidential, but you're asking us to make a decision on a code of conduct which has been investigated by the LGA, but yet we can't see the report. And to me, before making any decision, taking it any further, I'd want to see the full report of what her findings were and the whole process that went through. That's me personally. And I mean, about the matter, I mean, I don't condone any violence towards any ratepayer in any form whatsoever.
But point of order, there was no violence implied.
Sorry.
No, there wasn't.
No points of order with meeting procedures are suspended.
Through the mayor, we should be entitled to speak freely without the councillor
I
interrupting.
think that's a fair point, Bruce. I mean, we gave you a chance to speak freely. There's plenty you said in there that people could have reacted to and they didn't. So but I think we'd appreciate the same opportunity if that's okay with you.
So aggressive manner is what the person put in the email. And I mean, I think it's one of those things that we do have to investigate it. We can't be seen to be sitting here on our hands. If a ratepayer has generally brought that up to us. But I mean, I just don't. I mean, as everyone knows, Bruce. I mean, I think Bruce is a very passionate person, and when he does speak loud, and obviously in this manner, it has made someone feel quite uncomfortable. And they have written to Ginny in this point, and Ginny's felt that after reading it and after I'm reading it, you would, escalate it. But in saying that, I mean, before I make a decision on the recommendation that's before us, I mean, I'd like to see the full report to actually see what was, what they investigated during that process. Ish, I can't say that anymore. But I don't understand what the process and not being down that path. I don't know what she did. Sorry, the person that investigated what they did. So, to me, I'd like to see the report, I think it's only fair that the person that's been accused should see the full report instead of just the findings. So, if that was me, but Mark, I don't know whether you can add anything further.
Thank you. If we wanted to do that, we probably have to defer this item to enable enough time for that to happen. But the CEO would need to go back and ask the author whether they're happy to release the report. That's what would be required. Right.
Look, I'll start off where Scott left off. In terms of the report, I agree. I just think there's a report we should be privy to it. I understand it's not placed on the public agenda, that may not be appropriate. But certainly, if we're expected to make some decisions about the process and the outcome, we should be privy to that report. I think if it does mean holding off the meeting for another week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks, so be it. I think that's important. So I'll just start. I'm not sure if that's the point we're going to get to at all tonight, or whether we're going to keep going, but that would be my position on it. Do you want me to keep going? Or
You have the floor at the moment, Councillor.
Yeah. Look, a couple of things from my perspective. I find it very hard, and I like to hear it condone behaviour that's inappropriate. And I think that rightly or wrongly there is a different measure for elected members to what there is as a member of the public. So if we're having an exchange on, on the floor here or in a shopping centre or a park or wherever it is, the expectation for us is different, and we need to accept that. I'm interested in Councillor Cree's comments in terms of the. I'm not sure if we can ask Councillor Cree's questions. Can we do that?
I think so, yeah. As long as you're okay with that, Bruce.
Fine, yeah.
So Ms Wilson in her complaint talked about council presidents now being aggressive and threatening and causing us uncomfortable. So that's often going to be a very subjective measure. What Bruce feels is uncomfortable to what someone else feels might be very different. So I don't think we're ever going to. I think we have to accept that. But what I'm more concerned about is the content of the conversation, which was threatening the funding of the community garden, and obviously my involvement in the community garden. So I'm just interested if that's indeed what Councillor Creek said, because I think that goes to the very heart of, irrespective of how it was said, what was said was also could be seen as threatening and aggressive and cause to feel uncomfortable. So I'm just, is that the conversation that happened?
That was part of the conversation, but it wasn't that I threatened to take away. I said the possibility could, in context that, because as you know, that community garden is my baby. I got it up and running.
I think the volunteers would argue differently, but
I would strongly argue against what you just said. I got that community garden up and running. It took me 2 years in council to fight to get that established, to find that spot to be a community garden. I actually didn't build the garden myself, no. So I got the community, that garden in that place through council through my motions. Second, thank you very much. That's good. In democracy, you can disagree. It was my motion on council to got that garden going. I found the garden, that place. It was my motion on council that found that place, Councillor Dixon.
Perhaps just take on board that there's Councillor Bruce's question.
The possibility of if this council, and it was a new council, it's a Conservative council, and they opposed the Labor Party, and because Linda used the community garden for a political thing for for the mayor, for his political campaign, the community garden with her face on a cover. What if someone who was donating to that community garden, this is what I was trying to say to them, if someone was donating and they disagreed with the Labor Party, didn't like the Labor Party, but they were Conservatives, well, I'm not going to give you money for this community garden, this or that, because I oppose what you've done. You've politicised the community garden, and it shouldn't have been politicised. That's the thing I was trying to portray to Lindy, that she's politicised a charitable organisation. I was trying to get that through. Not saying I'm going to take money away from you. The possibility it could happen that someone could say, or other councillors could say, hey, you've politicised the community garden, therefore it doesn't deserve to be funded, or have prefer removed as, removed as running that garden, and that's what I was trying to convey. Perhaps I didn't purvey it in an articulate manner, but that's what I was trying to portray.
I think when a councillor is talking to a community member on the basis of what the council might or might do, that community member is likely to feel that the view of council, and I think it's unfair that you would do that on behalf of the rest of the council who may or may not agree with what you're saying.
I said the possibility.
Yeah. Well,
and you say you don't talk about council matters to people.
So I reckon probably fair that we don't want to have a lot of debate from that.
yeah.
That might end in tears.
A couple of other things. So for me, this is what I'm struggling with. Is it a subjective view about the way something was said, or what the content of the conversation? I think I'm really concerned about. I'm concerned that I've been on council for 3.5 years, and we've been down this path before, and that really concerns me, and that's why I'm very, very strong about not. My view is that I won't condone the behaviour of any elected member which is threatening or aggressive to anybody. I just don't think that's helpful for council. I don't think it's helpful for local government, and I don't think it's helpful for the person who's at the receiving end of that either. I'm really concerned about that. I'm genuinely concerned about that. I just want to go to the recommendations as well. I think the recommendations are a little weak and impractical in some way. So in terms of the training issues, I wouldn't be supporting that. We're 2 or 3 months out of an election. I don't think that's a particularly useful recommendation, and understanding that training has happened in the past. I know it's for slightly different purposes, but I wouldn't be particularly supportive of undertaking more training. I am, again, a little bit bemused about the the fact that we'll have obligations under the Act and the Code of Conduct, and irrespective of whether we vote for it or not, we're bound by the decisions of Council. I want to get nappies up 3 budgets in a row. No one supported me. I'm bound by that. You know, I just think it. I don't. Sorry. Oh, no, but another 3 months. I'm going to get them in as much as I can. The point is that we're bound by rules of Council. We're bound by decisions of Council. I'm amused that Council Priest doesn't understand that. The other issues in terms of the cost, $2,000. There's 2 years worth of nappy trials in the City of Prospect. I think Council Priest should be invited to reimburse those costs. I don't think we can make him do that. I don't think we should make him do it, but I think we should invite him to do that. I probably have more to say, but I'll leave it at that.
Good. Ashley, do you wish to say?
I do. I'm not so convinced at all that a report is an important part of this. The key in this discussion for me is the letter that was written by Linda Lewis. Beyond that, it was just a discussion on the letter. The letter is the foundation of this and how that person felt at the time. One might argue that if this was the very first code of conduct, that there could be mitigating factors. To hear that, well, Bruce speaks loud, or partially deaf, is just a crock, really. When 5 code of conduct, 5 people have been fearful, and this one repeats it. Councillor Priest approached the community garden stall at the fair and informed me that he would be making a formal complaint about this, and that's about her just commenting in his lecture material, which he has every right to do. And that my comments could affect the funding for the community garden. Now, I mean, to me that is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever read in this sort of situation, that you could threaten somebody's existence, their funding, their involvement. It's quite extraordinary. You could really think this could go on that basis alone a lot further. To me, this is ICAC sort of stuff, where you threaten funding in your position as a councillor. No different to an elected member of parliament. If they threaten funding or made the offer of extra funding, they are both ICACable. They are both utterly disgraceful. It goes against everything we should stand for. That you threaten funding, or in reverse, you hint at extra funding if you do or you don't. While this experience was quite unsettling for me, it could be very distressing for someone to be spoken in this way. When a person in a position of power threatens another in this way, it can be taken as bullying. And that's how she felt. She felt distressed. She felt bullied. I mean, we all know Lindy. She's just about the most gentle person on the planet. She probably jumps at her own shadow. She's the most quietly spoken person. And yet she's got a really big guy, really letting rip. She's feeling threatened, feeling bullied, and then the threat of funding going out and the garden dying. I can't imagine if she thought about it for long that Bruce would get the vote on council. But the threat alone is disgraceful. Councillor Priest's behaviour was witnessed by a fellow community garden volunteer who also found his behaviour aggressive. So somebody else standing there wasn't just shouting loud or talking loud. This was aggressive behaviour, not by a long shot the first time. It utterly amazes me. I really thought after the last little couple of episodes that would finally put it to bed. When I found out about this, I was totally and utterly in disbelief. $50,000 has been spent on code of conduct. When do you stop? I in part agree with the former speaker. Is there a point in sending somebody off? But then again, in a way, you sort of can't not do it. We're very limited by what we can do. The thing that perhaps stopped me dead in my tracks was 4.10. one of the recommendations is that the Council requires that Councillor Bruce Priest attend professional development to ensure he understands his legal obligations under Local Government Act 1999, in particular the Code of Conduct of Council members. And then the reason for including that. Part 3 is due to Councillor Priest indicating to the investigating officer that he believed he was under no obligation to comply with the Code of Conduct, as he had not voted for the City of Prospect procedures. How utterly extraordinary is that? Remembering also, this has got nothing to do with procedures, this is an Act of Parliament. The procedures is only how you go about it, but the actual fact of the matter is an Act of Parliament. Councillor Priest has said very publicly he is not held by an Act of Parliament. It's just quite extraordinary. So as far as he's concerned, despite numerous code of conducts against him, he doesn't feel he is obligated to conform to any code that is enacted by Parliament or by Council, because he didn't vote for it. And he believed that freedom of speech legislation had precedence over the local government. You know, I saw the Life of Brian on TV the other day. This is Life of Brian stuff. You can imagine Brian jumping up and shouting this. Freedom of speech is above any law. Well, not really. And you can imagine the person interviewing just sitting there in total disbelief and thus saying, boy, this guy's got to go off to professional development to ensure he understands his legal obligations under the Local Government Act. I truly was convinced I'd never see another one of these again. You know, I went through mediation with Bruce, and I thought, yeah, this has really got to bring it to an end. And within no time at all, and it's another woman feeling threatened and bullied. Councillor Priest made a big point of she refuses mediation. Well, why the hell would you want to jump into mediation when somebody has really bullied you and you felt threatened? Why? It's their right not to. Her right was to be treated properly in the first place. So mediation didn't have to occur. But to condemn somebody because they won't mediate after you've treated them that way, that surprises me. What doesn't surprise me is that she refused.
Mark commented on the recommendation. Do you have any comments on the recommendation?
Look, it's a bit of a yes and a no. What can you then not do? It's limiting enough what we can do in the first place. But it's very, and I understand, you know, when you've been to Code of Conduct, when you've been to professional development and or bullying procedures, and you've ignored them and gone and done them again. Well, it's a difficult one. I would say yes, you've just got to keep trying. Hopefully one day it gets through. Hopefully, because you can't do nothing. And that's probably the alternative. If this is the limit of what we can do, I'd like to think that the costs, particularly after what we've been through, I'd like to think the $1,925 is paid back. Council's Code of Conduct, complaint handling procedure, he had to, considering what he said, that he just doesn't think he's involved in it, you know, he's above it. You just have to go through that process. Professional development, to ensure he understands the legal. Yeah. Apologise for his behaviour. I mean, that's a, you know, can't argue that at all. With the last one, I really backed off. I thought, you know, I can imagine how Bruce felt, you know, sometimes it gets you. And I really backed off and said, just mediate, get it out of the way, forget about it. Never expecting it to be another one so soon. That's what just, I really thought if I backed off, maybe we could put this to bed forever. So that this is here surprises me. For Lindy, you know, things last in people, and she's no youngster. She's not somebody that can bounce off this sort of stuff. So the effect it might have on her every time she goes to that garden, who knows? I'd rather it hadn't happened. It has. I'm going to vote for the recommendation as it is. They're still fairly weak because that's all we can do. And whilst I accept to a degree what the council said, the alternative is to do even less, and I find that unfit. Thank you.
Monica, did you want to say? Sorry, Scott, did you want to?
I just wanted to say something which, and Bruce most probably won't like me saying it, but it's from, I guess, a candidate's point of view, being in David's shoes. When you are out campaigning in a state election, people do know you as an individual, and whether they support any political party, they are generally impressed that you're actually standing up for something that you believe in, whether it's the Labor Party's policies or the Liberal Party's policies, the Greens. And as an individual and a human being, this is what I would think that why Lindy has said to David, with her involvement with David at the Prospect Council, that she has agreed to have that photo with him. And so that's the thing, just from my point of view, that is I find distressing about it, is that there is business people that step up and be in photos. And if we sort of shun that away from people where they're too frightened to just support a friend or someone that's standing up, that people don't have the time, capacity to stand up, but they want to support someone as an individual. That's the thing that in the email that Lindy sent is the thing that sticks with me. As well, so that's just from a candidate's point of view at the last state election. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Monica?
Well, I've got a bit to say. Some like council election, five,
So you allow it, Councillor.
unlike councillor, I am not surprised. Five, code of conduct with approximately $50,000 for a councillor who constantly calls out the voting things down. But they're the people that have stood up and complained. There are countless others that don't. I know of 4 offhand when I said to them, if it's upset you, complain. They won't complain because of the level of intimidation and the threat of litigation. The aggressive behaviour at meetings and the stuff that the staff have to put up with, the aggressive nature, the yelling at them, and staff can't respond. They have to sit there and take it. And I shamefully sit there as well thinking, for God's sake, just get up and tell him to shut up because it's not okay. It's disgraceful. We've all witnessed that. We've witnessed the aggression and the intimidation of our staff, and it's not acceptable. A member of the gallery spoke to me. She'd been to a recent workshop, and she found that Councillor Priest's behaviour was distressing and frightening. She didn't even know that he was an elected member and couldn't believe that anybody was allowed to speak to anybody like that, and said that she didn't know how he could represent anyone with his aggressive and frightening behaviour. Another member of the public came and addressed us on an issue, I'm not going to speak about what it was, and walked away disgusted by the behaviour of Councillor. And both those people asked me specifically not to name them because they were concerned about repercussions. Councillor Priest tonight, in his explanation, took no responsibility. Flawed, political, it's a smear. Blaming others for his behaviour, and I really cannot see how any of the recommendations are going to mean a single thing to him. He threatened a member of the public and then said, well, she wouldn't meet with me. Why would she? Why would any of us meet with somebody who is aggressively threatening us? And as a member of the public, they're not privy to things like this. It's absolutely unacceptable that she has to ask what do I do and what are the options. And it doesn't matter how loudly you spoke, it doesn't matter how you all say, oh, Bruce, it's just that. It's what that is killer. It's ridiculous that he doesn't understand his position and how codes of conduct are entrenched in law and how he needs to follow that. Because if he doesn't understand it, doesn't understand the very basics of being an elected member, then maybe he should consider his responsibility as the role of elected member. And if he thinks that freedom of speech and code of conduct, if he wants freedom of speech, then maybe he should resign and not run for council again. Because I am tired of defending this council against council freedom.
Actually, I know you want to say more by the sound of it. We've just run out of our suspension of meeting procedures. Looks like we've got a bit more to say. Seat leader needs to suspend any procedures until 8:45, 8:45 if we need it. If we don't, we'll always come back. All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you. Carry on, Michael.
Well, I know you've getting quite wound up there, so it's lucky that you stopped me. I think the recommendation is pointless at this stage. You show no remorse. We have spent so much money on legal fees, defending his aggressive behaviour and his unsuitable behaviour as an elected member. You can ask for him to pay the money back. He's been asked for and declined. He's not felt that he's responsible for any of his behaviour. I feel I have to support the recommendations here because you have to be seen as looking after Lindsay. You have to show her that, you know, what's an apology going to be? Just pointless words because it's something that he had to do. He has to attend a training session after training session after training session and still persist in inappropriate behaviour. Call again. He considers freedom of speech over conduct, codes of conduct more important. He doesn't understand the basics of codes of conduct, and he really should reconsider his role as elected member and resign. Yeah.
Present.
Yes, well, this is very difficult because I've known Lindy for many, many years, and I'm quite well involved in the community garden and some parent group. And I also come to know Bruce, and as we know, when it came on all the other problems that were coming about, I opted to step up, and I think Bruce and I have had some good conversations, and I have encouraged him, offered as a mentor, and we have tried over these last few years, and tried to say, is there a different approach, a different way, and quite often Bruce has responded to that. But then there are times, Bruce, when I'm not there, like this one. So, I mean, my hands are really tied as an elected member and elected representative. We have to follow through with these procedures. I don't like this whole code of conduct business. But it's the law. We're bound by accepting our role as an elected member, and we have to obey the laws under which we are governed. So I think there's no alternative. I just hope, again, Bruce, that you're hearing the messages that are coming through. You know that you know, we've had some good talks and discussions. So please phone me, right, so we can talk about some of these things. If you phone me, we could talk through about all this instead of just going to a very public place, the fair, where they're busy on their stall, very public. It's just inappropriate. There could have been another way that we could approach this. Because I feel sure maybe Lindy could have met with me and you, and, you know, could have been explanation about it instead of it being escalated now to this.
And that really is the best you can do, President. I'm disappointed, bitterly disappointed that after 5 code of conduct, you make excuses for everyone once again.
You should be better. I'm not so sure that debating each other over this is going to be helpful. I know how you feel. The councillor, are you? Sorry, Monica, you
I've got a question. Was it? I'm not sure if I heard right, but when Bruce was initially addressing us, he said that there was a third party involved who tried to convince Lindy to meet with him. Is that right?
No. To lodge it as a code of conduct, I understand, and Bruce was inferring that there's some conspiracy going on.
I Lindy emailed Alan and said this is what she was going to do, so that's how I knew what was happening.
Oh, there was plenty of people talking about it. Look, what distresses me is that it's not the first time by a long shot. I've never seen so many code of conduct findings against somebody. In my history of involvement in local government, I'm the president of a local government association. I've not heard of any other council, the other 67 councils, having so many code of conduct breaches found against a councillor. I don't like setting those sort of records in my council. I feel deeply ashamed and intensely frustrated, but I don't know what else to do. What's more though in this particular circumstance, this incident was an aggressive approach to no one less than a former Prospect Citizen of the Year. A Citizen of the Year that we have exalted, put up there as being someone that we think extols all the virtues of being a fantastic person and a contributor to our community. And Lindy has been a tireless volunteer for this community for things that aren't at first hand for her. She's gone out of her way to make the city a better place, and I think we appropriately recognise that. For her to be attacked in this manner, I just find, words can't describe how I feel about that. To do it in a public place, one of our premier events, the fair's been going for, what, 37 years? It's an extremely public place. At the stall, this conversation could have been had in private, could have been done via a letter, could have been done via a phone call, could have been done by you, Chris, I'll take the point. It wasn't. The councillor chose to do it at the fair, in public. With this Citizen of the Year, I'm just flabbergasted. And to threaten funding, I kind of agree with Councillor Priest, because the converse of threatening funding is encouraging funding failures. And that's Councillor Dixon. Sorry. And that is territory that I think is a very, very, very slippery slope. It's exactly why we set up committees to advise us on community grants and those sort of things. So it's not decided politically. There are people who spend their time working through the applications and advise us as to their merits. To threaten funding in a public place like that, what sort of signal does that send our community? That one of us does that. There's no one amongst us, and I dare say no one out of the 708 elected members in the state better trained on the code of conduct. No one has received more training. No one in this council has been made more aware of the impact of their aggressive behaviour. And I agree with this notion of talking loudly. I hear Councillor Priest talking softly plenty of times. I just don't believe that answer. No one is more aware and has been made more aware and more counselled about their aggressive behaviour in the history of this council, I dare say, but certainly in the current council, than Councillor Priest. Councillor Priest is well aware of his behaviour. He's well aware of the impact of his behaviour. He's well aware of how the code of conduct works. He's well aware of his responsibilities as an elected member, more so than anyone else. And still he does this on a former Citizen of the Year. It's just extraordinary. And I note tonight, in Councillor Priest's opening remarks, there's no acknowledgement of the incident. There's no apology. There's no recognition of the impact on Ms. Nielsen. Instead, there is an attack on the investigator. There's an attack on the report, and we've been given a conspiracy theory. Where is the sense of responsibility and accountability? I'm really distressed that after all this time and all the money we've spent, that we are exactly where we started. Poor behaviour and denial. And in my view, I'm really frustrated with the recommendations. We have had others before, and if people seek to defer this to see the whole report, and the CEO can advise us that things have done before, including publishing it in the paper, asking for 2 months suspension and those sort of things. We've done other things. I tend to agree with Monica. You know, if the surgeon's got shaky hands, they don't do the job anymore. The truck driver falls asleep at the wheel, so they don't do the job anymore. If you can't handle your responsibilities as a councillor and a public official, don't do the job anymore. Bruce, I don't think you cut out for this gig. It's my opinion. Now, we need to decide what to do. There's some discussion about perhaps deferring it to see the full report. I'm very happy for us to see the full report. I'm sure that Mark asked for permission to do so, then the reporter may choose to withdraw perhaps some identifying quotes from the witnesses. That's generally what confidentiality is more around witnesses. And then we can come back to this in July. Are there many people interested in seeing the whole report before they feel comfortable with what to do next?
To make it a complete,
I'm just, what I want is, I don't want any hint of any interference in this process. The governance body was set up by the IGA to provide arm's length independent people to look at this stuff. Whilst the LGA manages it, none of the people are on councils, and I don't think any of them have served as council. I'm not sure about that, but I don't think they have. One has. Marjorie has, okay. Marjorie Schultz, who's done meeting trainings for us before, so we've met her. And if you feel more comfortable seeing a completely independent report, I wasn't interviewed. CEO, were you interviewed at all? No. So it's done completely outside our influence. I'm comfortable with that. On the contrary, if you want to make some decision tonight, then let's process it. How many people want to see the report? Huh?
Sorry, can I just ask a question before we do that?
Yep.
Which might be helpful. One of the reasons I'd be interested in seeing the report is, well, a couple of reasons. One is that there will be a statement from a witness. So the letter, I think, is really important. The letter is the allegation, the report is to determine whether it happened or not. Monica made a very, very good point, and I thought about it if I hadn't said it, and that is, I don't understand from Bruce whether he accepts that this happened and that something has, and it's a responsibility argument. He hasn't taken responsibility for it. Sure. So for me, I'm not hearing that from Bruce, so I need to get that from the report that says, yes, this is why we believe it was inappropriate and this is the outcome of it. I also think we do need to look at recommendations. I said before the recommendations are weak. I think they are weak. I don't think they're appropriate. And I'm not going to, I would prefer not to vote for it tonight because it's convenient. I'd rather actually take a step back, look at the report and understand what's going to help us as a council, what's going to help Ms Nielsen move forward, and what's going to help Councillor Briggs move forward.
There's nothing here about the victim.
No, and I think that's a bit missed in this process as well, because I suspect that she's feeling quite traumatised by the whole process. And I just don't want to rush a decision that's not going to be right for her, not going to be right for us corporately, and not going to be right for Council either.
And I think that's a really important point, because I know, Bruce, you feel passionately about your involvement in the community garden, but I know most of the community garden feel quite passionately in a different way, and I sense that might need some working through between the parties to try and settle that down, because that's a point of future conflict that I don't think any of us want to be seeing that come back to us. So we might need to have some thought about that. So
we've got a special meeting coming up for other matters, which is only a fortnight away. It doesn't have to prolong for another month.
Well, that's true. Yes. So a couple of people interested in seeing the report. Mark, you are. Yeah. Scott, you said you were. Actually, you're not fussed. You said quite clearly you don't need to. But there's four.
I don't, but I think really the letter is and they've also come forward and said these are the actions that should be taken. So they obviously found very clearly that that this is that they believe in what she said is what happened. So, you know, in report, I can only think we're going to support that.
And I should point out that the CEO was advised that the investigator could not take previous breaches into account. So they treat this as a one-off. So their recommendations might be different to what someone else who's seen the previous breaches might have recommended. And I think we know them.
But I don't understand that under the code of conduct, repeated breaches at level 2 become level 3. I just don't understand.
Advice.
Maybe
CEO, you
you
want to speak to that? Perhaps. Governance manager?
It would be the first breach is found under the new code.
I'm curious to see the report, right, so it's more informative as to why these recommendations are here. I am not satisfied with these recommendations whatsoever. I think they're useful and positive. Sorry, I'd like a little say so that we can have a better discussion about whether these recommendations are useful or whether it's
Yeah, okay. Well, then, and I shouldn't assume, Bruce, but you may want to see the whole report rather than just an excerpt from it. Would that be your preference?
Worry me.
Doesn't worry. Well, there's four who want to see it and 2 who are ambivalent. CEO, we can just lay on the table, is my understanding.
That's correct. We can little lay on the table. I'll approach the investigator or the panel and request that we be able to circulate the report. Just want to provide one point of clarification that Ginny and I met with the investigator prior to introducing her to Bruce. So that did occur. I just want to be sure. Yeah.
I'd like to point out also that Councillor Alan Harris is not present as well, so he may wish to.
Yep, that's true too. Okay. So I'm going to call us back in a formal session. I presume nobody's going to want to seek to move this.
No.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. And, so again, sorry? Well, sorry.
Formal motion to lay on the table.
I don't believe we do need a formal motion to it. We're just not going to move it.
No, just go away.
So we just retable it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because nothing happens with it. This leaves the staff free to bring it back to us at a subsequent meeting. So we'll move on to 20.4. Councillor Group, did you? I'm going to be definitive about this. Councillor Group, you did pull it out.
I did pull it out.
And a brief reason.
Look, I just have a question for possibly the CEO in terms of rationale for retain or release. So I'm happy to ask it now. I'm happy to move it then ask. I'm happy to move it.
Move it, yeah.
I'll move it. Look, we do this every year, and I think it's actually quite an important thing that we do each year because there's a lot of content in that report. Through the Mayor, just a question about what rationale was used to determine whether a particular report was released or retained. I'm just interested in how we came to that decision because I can read these and I can make a decision in my own mind whether I think it's important to release or to retain. But I'd just like some background as to how whoever came up with the decision did so.
There are different categories, so can we work through by category perhaps? Thank you, Governor.
Through the Chair, with the confidential items, that task has changed people, so it has been slowed up a little, but things like tenders and tender process, if there's money involved, we have to write to the tenderers and ask for their permission to release them. And if there's 3 tenderers and 2 say yes and 1 say no, well, it stays there. I believe there's sort of a time limit on that, but I can't tell you off the top of my head what it is, so I can't say there forever. But it can. Other things are money for hardship or something that we've said, something to do with rates. If that person is still alive or still living in the council area, we retain it. So there's various reasons. And we do have a...
Legal matters where we've sought legal advice or we've had a claim?
We usually get legal advice on that, on whether we can believe it. But we do have reasons for each one on a spreadsheet, but we don't bring it to council because it's in open council. But if it's something that the elected members would like to see as a list, we could certainly provide that.
Thank you. Councillor Group, any further questions?
Thank you. Look, thank you. That's useful, and I obviously understand the rationale behind it. As I said, I was quite happy with the list. The only ones I was a little interested in was the removal of significant trees items, which are all legal based. Do we get legal advice on those particular records?
Through the Chair, I can't answer that, but we'll follow up on it.
I thought we did. I thought we reached a confidential settlement. CEO, we wanted to come back to you on that one.
Yeah, look, it's not material for the purpose of this report. I'm just, that one in particular, I would question whether we could release or whether we could release. Well, just because it's confidential, I don't know, I just can't release it, so I guess the interest.
I think it ends up being kind of a contractual arrangement. But, if we,
It's not material to this. I'm happy to move it as is and happy to take it quite informally out of session. It's just rationale for that particular one.
well spoken in favour of. Seconded. Councillor Dixon, do you wish to speak to it? Any further debate? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, so now we're down to Board of Committees, nil, Council reports and information report, nil. And I just following my new form of agenda. I'm getting there, Jazz, I'm getting there. I've got to get to it. I know it's the diary, but I've got to read out the diary bit. Okay, council diary members. Just for information, I know you've got it in front of you there, citizenship ceremony on the 30th of June, Monday the 30th of June. Love you to come and to help me welcome our newest citizens. I think there's going to be 65 of them there, so it's always good for them to meet their local representatives and make them feel really welcome. Club 5082 on Friday the 4th of July. Suburban Dreamings is a new exhibition that's going to be opened on Sunday the 6th of July. Photography by Wayne Gravel, which is pretty cool. And that is the diary for next month. There's no more footy until the 26th of July, I think. What a way away. I expect to see you there after that cheer, Councillor Dixon. Good to see you there one day. It was a very exciting last quarter at Prospect Oval on Sunday. Thank you.
The team love it during
Yeah. General business item 22.
Yeah, can I just ask a brief question of the Deputy Mayor Councillor Mark Root?
Under general business?
Yeah.
Not really.
I was just about the code of conduct of the board against the mayor. What's happened with that? I just want to know what was happening about that.
No, sorry, that's no, you can't ask that question.
Covered up or?
Councillor, you can ask that question after the meeting.
Covered up?
You can ask it without notice at the start of the meeting. If you want to make accusations, you should go and talk to your lawyer about that sort of stuff. Because no, that's...
Just ask a question, that's all.
You can't ask a question under general business.
Thank you very much. You pointed that out.
Thank you. Any further general business? Or any general business, sorry, not further. No. General business of an urgent nature, is there any? Confidential items are nil. Meeting closed. Thank you.